welcome back. Now it's the Talk Time segment of the show. The history of the Nigerian Army can be traced back to the formation of the small force called the Glover Hausas in the 1863. But that was when Lieutenant Glover of the Royal Navy organized 18 indigenes of the then Northern Protectorate into a force used to protect British trade routes around Lagos. But 2 years later, the force became known as the Hausa Constabulary, performing both police and military duties for the Lagos government. It went through a number of phases until it became a part of the West Africa Frontier Force in 1901. The Nigerian regiment of that force was named the Nigerian Military Forces in 1956 and naturally became the country's military at independence. The Nigerian Army has fought in the Civil War of the late 60s and sent peacekeeping forces abroad, notably in Liberia and Sierra Leone, where our soldiers formed the backbone of ECOWAS ceasefire monitoring group called ECOMOG then. Lately, however, the same army has been unable so far to defeat the Boko Haram insurgents. Joining us via phone now to talk about the challenges and prospects of the Nigerian Army at 152 is former command officer of the 65th Battalion of the Nigerian Army and author of the book End of the Road, The Travails of an Infantry Officer, retired Colonel Gabriel Ajayi. Thank you for your time on the news.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, so how do you see the Nigerian Army so far, 152 years now?
Oh, Nigerian Army has had a checkered history. But to be frank with you, the destruction of that noble institution was the institution's involvement in politics in Nigeria. Actually, Nigerian military should have been the best in Africa, the most envied in Africa. I did mean that the army never entered into politics in 1966. Because the Nigerian military was the engine room of the British Army outside the European theaters of war. And it had meritorious service throughout the whole world. Burma, North Africa. In fact, it was Nigerian military that protected the territorial integrity of Kenya when it was invaded by the Italians. It was Nigerian military that restored Emperor Haile Selassie to Ethiopia when it was invaded, and that place was invaded by the Italians. As a matter of fact, the flag raised by the Nigerian military could have been the Nigerian flag. Why not to be that they were under the British Army? But one important aspect that many people have never questioned was, why is it that from 1863 to 1948, no single Nigerian was considered qualified enough to be an officer in this force? So by the time Nigeria became independent, the officer corps left that was to now show that the responsibility of commanding this force was relatively inexperienced, immature, and did not have sufficient tutelage under the British Army Officers Corps. And when the Nigeria eventually took over in 1965, General also took over the Nigerian military on the 22nd of February 1965, 11 months after the whole army collapsed. But they tried to patch it up by after 1970, when the war ended. They tried to patch it up and tried to go back to what the military was in the past. But the overthrow of Gowon brought another dimension to the military. The era of compulsory retirement for service no longer required. People never prepared for anything. They were retired. And so that had a rebounding effect on those that remained in service. Then people started to have second thought about the military. And this issue of nepotism, corruption, then now started coming in. It reached its apogee during the time of General Ibrahim Babangida and that of Abacha. They virtually destroyed the fighting power, capability of Nigerian military. That what they did at that time is what we are experiencing today. The fighting arm was totally destroyed because it was believed that it is the fighting arm that could be used to stage a coup. So the real infantry, if I tell you, since democracy returned to Nigeria, no infantry officer has been the chief of defense staff of Nigerian military, no infantry officer. They have either come from combat support service, signals, intelligence corps. They have either come from there, and so on and so forth like that. So you'll find that it was this era, and that's why I want this present government. This is the moment of truth. This present government should try. The general is the commander-in-chief now. He should try and return back the Nigerian military to what
all right,
it was
Colonel.
as 1975.
We'll
return it back to what it was there, so that we'll be able to go back and have a real military, where intrigues, nepotism, dog-eat-dog will virtually vanish from the military.
Okay, we'll still talk more about what...
We're just passionate. We are deceiving ourselves to say, professionalism, this one. Oh, yes, many of us have PhDs. Master's degree. That is not the military. That a person who has a PhD does not show the capacity to fight. As a soldier is made to train and to fight. Those are the two things the military we do to train and to fight. If the army wants, we have to go back to retraining. Right away now, as we are talking that they are battling Boko Haram. However, those that are not battling Boko Haram back in the unit, in Lagos, are they doing training now? Are they doing bush exercises? Are they doing range classification? Nobody will take the risk of saying he's taking soldiers to the field to go and train. Maybe they will accuse him of trying to do something. So no training. So what the army lost was issue of training. The moment the army lost training, it lost everything. The more you train, the more you sweat in peace.
Okay, I'm afraid I'll have to come in here. Colonel Ajayi, please. All right, Colonel Ajayi, please listen. Some of the challenges you outlined really facing the Nigerian Army. We have many more really, and somehow encapsulated in this statement on a study carried out on the Nigerian Army 20 years ago, says that inexperienced, poorly trained, and ineptly led soldiers have manifested their lack of professionalism and discipline and often fail to effectively execute infantry tactics. Now, who do you blame for this problem?
You say what? What's your question?
Okay, let me read it again. Inexperienced, poorly trained, and ineptly led soldiers have manifested their lack of professionalism and discipline and often fail to effectively execute infantry tactics. That's according to a study conducted on the Nigerian Army about 20 years ago.
The study is totally correct. And the cause of that problem is the lack of training. You have to train the basic standard infantry drills. As a second lieutenant, I went to so many infantry courses at the then Nigerian Military Training College. Everything, training, and by the time Gowan was overthrown, we were at the open range in Isenyi. 4 days we were doing firing classification. From that 1975 till I left 2 divisions, that was the last time. That was the last time training was ever conducted. When have you heard that they are doing range practice in Lagos? Why have you heard that they are doing training along Ikorodu Road, along a road? Look. All these things, there is no problem with any army. The only problem with any army is that if the army does not train, the army must train. If it doesn't train, then it's not an army. Training is what makes the difference in any army. Training, that you have a combination. In the same combination in the hand of the enemy, you will be able to use the same combination better than the same combination in the hand of the enemy because of training. We have to encourage the army to do training. You have annual administrative inspection. You have what you call Tail A parade. You have a lot of things to make the army to be combat ready. The hardiness of the soldier is brought about by the training. The esprit du corps is brought about by the training. Push exercises. You understand me? All the problems they are talking, if training is restored, it will remove all the other aspects. The best form of welfare for the soldier is first-class training. Without training, all this money you are talking about will continue to be there. Let me tell you something. Do you know that the Boko Haram commander, the commander of Boko Haram Expeditionary Force that captured Bama and seized so much of Nigerian weapons was a Nigerian Army corporal, a former corporal in Nigerian Army, a former corporal in this same army, and this boy was killed in the capture of Bama, but he was a corporal, former corporal in the army, this same Nigerian Army. And you will know how many of our ex-soldiers that will be with Boko Haram. But we don't know. So many of them, of the past soldiers, they will have been there. Because there is no way any of this work would have been on like that without some people with a semblance of proper training that are with the Boko Haram chaps. So what the army needs is to go back to training. They should, the professionalism we are talking about is the fact that you don't make a signal officer, the GOC. The signal officer is a combat officer, quite correct. But that is not his profession. He is supposed to make the infantry to fight. He's not supposed to command, he's supposed to make infantryman to fight. Train your inspectors, train our infantry. Let us give this challenge to our infantry officers. You know, I'm not against the services support officer. They are very important. The quartermaster is as important as the operation officer. But each person has his own trade. The signal man is to give us communications. The infantryman carries the rifle and commands the referee. He has to be commanded from platoon to company to battalion to brigade to division. You understand me?
Okay.
We should remove this sentiment. Oh, somebody was a first in war college. You can't be first when you are writing the exam, for God's sake. That does not make you to be a good combat soldier on the ground. Fighting is done in the field, not in the classroom.
Okay,
you
so
understand me?
all right,
it's not in the class, it's done in the field. You understand me?
I do. Let me ask you another question at this time.
They were infantry combat officers who led troops in the battle. Go to Israel, the commanders, Egypt. The commanders are fighting infantry soldiers. But the others are very important. Yes, very, very important. Because they made the infantryman to fight. Without the medical, the infantryman will not be able to fight very well. Without the ordnance, the infantryman cannot be able to fight well. But the point is, it is not for the ordnance to do the fighting. It is for the ordnance to make the infantryman to fight.
All right, so as a man of the Nigerian military as well, how did you feel when at the point there were reports that Nigerian soldiers, who for many years had been known as gallant soldiers, and of course who fought for territorial integrities of many, of many African countries, were fleeing on seeing Boko Haram members advancing in some villages in the northeastern part of Nigeria and being tagged as cowards by Chadian troops?
The destruction of the infantry corps in the Nigeria and the infantry arm of Nigerian military, this destruction is responsible for what you are having today. Unless you rebuild the infantry, you rebuild this fighting force to the capacity it used to be when you are talking about those meritorious periods. Unless you rebuild that infantry corps to that level, there is no way you can carry people who are electrical, mechanical engineer soldiers, carry artillery soldiers, carry all this and combat them and send them, make them to battle, send them to battle. It will not work very well. The people that fight battle are infantry soldiers, you know, who are the well-grilled and well-trained in standard infantry drills. You understand me? The infantry arm must be made to fight. They must be encouraged. They must be trained. You cannot win any war without the infantry. They are called the queen of the battle. The infantry is called the queen of the battle. And like I said, the other arms are very important because without them, the infantryman cannot fight. You understand me? So if we want to win, we have to raise the standard of our infantry. Without raising the standard of our infantry, we cannot win anything.
Okay,
you understand me? It is the infantry corps that we need to rebuild now properly. The various battalions. You understand me? That are supposed to be fighting. As I'm telling you, I expect the battalion in Owode to be training very hard, like we used to do in those days, in preparation to be moved to the operation area. But I don't think they are doing any training in Owode now because nobody will provide money for the training. Nobody will give them what they require to train. You understand me?
So, Colonel Ajayi, even if the Nigerian military at this time gets all the support it needs, weaponry and funds, enough funds and all that, to be able to fight every war that comes its way and even fight the Boko Haram sect, will they be able to fight the war within? Because we hear that there are saboteurs in the Nigerian army.
Yes, the point is that it is this type of indiscipline that brought saboteur. You see, it is this type of indiscipline, lack of training, lack of esprit de corps that brought in that brought in saboteur. Otherwise, the organization of the Nigerian military, that's what we call order of battle, it's not in such a way that you can have saboteurs. You have a section made up of 10 men. A corporal commands the section, a lance corporal is section 2IC. That section is divided into two, machine gun group, rifle group. How will you have a saboteur in the midst of those people? You know, when you have a unique infantry battalion is like a family. It's like one family. There's no way you can have saboteurs in that type of organization. But the problem is that it is what is on the ground that is responsible, that gives birth to all these other things, cleaverages, this and that, and so on and so forth. Then when without a crack in the wall, the lizard cannot enter. There must be a crack somewhere. And that's why I'm looking at saying that those cracks should be looked into. The infantry corps should be rebuilt and let it be a real fighting arm. Why should there be a saboteur inside? How does he exist? If all of you have been training together, you are trained together, you have been training together, you are moving together, you are advancing together, where will you get that saboteur from? I mean, among the fighters. You understand me? You know, you find the issue of saboteur is an aberration. An aberration is not the norm. You understand me? And there are systems to pick up such things, to know the saboteurs. But the system will not work because of the problem on the ground. You understand me? So it is an aberration, but I can assure you that Nigerian military will defeat Boko Haram, no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult, because there is no history of insurgent defeating an army of a country, especially like a country like Nigeria. There is no history. So Nigeria will not be an exception. This will not be the first, but it will take a longer time. Remember what you are reading about in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine had been on before the birth of Jesus Christ. The insurgency had been on before the birth of Jesus Christ. Insurgency is not like conventional warfare. Okay. So we require native intelligence, creativity, unusual way, unconventional way to tackle the Boko Haram insurgency. It cannot be fought conventionally anyway. You understand me? So we need to take some steps that will not even be disclosed to the public or disclosed to anybody, and somebody must be able to take responsibility if that system fails. And if it succeeds, the president should take the honor and the glory. You understand me? So the issue of saboteur is neither here nor there. There will always be people leaking out information, information passes through the communication system. So maybe within the communication system, the information is leaked out somehow. Well, I do not see how the fighting soldier, the fighting battalion, will be able to leak out information or be saboteurs. But within the communication system, command control and communication system, there could be leakages here and there. And so if things are properly done, that type of aberration will not be there. That's what I'm saying. It is not the norm that there should be saboteur. It is not the convention. It is an aberration. An aberration could be tackled and could be sealed up. So the point still remains that if we train hard, and we will fight easy. If we don't train hard, of course, we will suffer the consequences. So the consequences we are suffering, including saboteur, whatever you tell them, and so on and so forth, are all consequences of lack of effective, efficient, and hard-hitting training that have been lacking in the force for a long time.
Colonel Ajayi, now let's talk about the remuneration of these Nigerian soldiers. We hear that in developed countries, 2 salaries are paid to soldiers at war, 1 to them and 1 to their families. But it's not so in the Nigerian Army. We even hear that their remuneration is not quite, it's quite unimpressive, really. What can you tell us about the remuneration?
I didn't get your point very well.
Their salary, the remuneration of soldiers.
So, okay, a country pays the military as its pocket can carry. We cannot compare one country with the other. It depends on the income of the. But however, in the military I served, there are procedures are laid down for, we call something family allotment. Very well taken care of. Those people that are actually handling that are also part of those people fighting. Because when some people are taking good care of the family, it will raise the morale of people in the battlefield. If there are no people taking care of the family, it will affect them on the battlefield. So those people also are part of the fighting. There used to be allotment for the family. They are paid a particular stipend from the man's salary. And the soldier over there is paid allowances. I myself, I suffered this issue of allowance when I was serving in southern Lebanon. The government of Nigeria did not pay us our allowance. And up to today, I don't think we got the allowance correct in Nigeria. 1979, this was 1979, I was a member of the United Nations Peacekeeping Force in southern Lebanon. The Nigerian government never paid us our allowance there. They said we come and take it in Naira in Nigeria. And maybe they paid us twice or so, but never even compensated the money for us here. It is not the army's problem. It is the government's problem. That one is not army's problem. It's the government problem. The soldier knows how much the government says you should pay them. And you cannot reduce it. No officer can reduce it. Nobody can pocket it. But the money may not be released. For instance, I served 30 years in the army. I did not take disturbances allowance, and I was transferred from one place to the other. And according to law, when you are transferred, you are paid disturbances allowance. The first 28 days or something days you stay in hotel. And throughout my 30 years, I never enjoyed it because I know that budget things there were no budget for them. They didn't make money available to the military to do these ones. You understand me? A lot of things have gone wrong. So we should not have any blame game. The only thing we do is to encourage the army to go back to what the military should be. And one point I want to leave with you, my sister, is the fact that we are British 100% in orientation, in culture, in organization, in all that, in operation. So if we really need assistance, it should be the British that could give us assistance. The British established the Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Nigeria. They established the National War College in Nigeria. It was the British proxy that established the Nigerian Defense Academy. The Nigerian Infantry Center and School now used to be the Royal Nigerian Military Training College, which metamorphosed Nigerian Military Training College and became Nigerian Army School of Infantry. The company commanders were, for a long time, when I was even a company commander, was run by the British, the British. I was trained by the British in the company commander wing of Nigerian Army School of Infantry. We are totally British. I myself am so British in orientation, in everything, thinking, in sleeping, in wearing uniform. I'm British. So it's very difficult to mix it up with another fashion and think it will work very well. You understand me? So,
all right. In other words, Colonel Ajayi, are you saying that Nigerian government should not seek help from other countries, especially from the United States of America?
Good. They can't. No. You can always take from, but you don't give the reliance so much on it. You can take. And let me tell you something about America. Many of you do not understand. Anglo-American policies around the whole world makes it imperative for America to be circumspect coming into the British, into the European sphere of influence. Nigeria is in the European sphere of influence, not in the American sphere of influence. So when they will not want to offend their friends. Although the British government may not be complaining, they will not complain. But you see, even if it's you yourself, you will feel it now. If your people are going to other people instead of you, though you'll be pretending and be laughing and say, "Oh, that is all right." Let us be sincere. The Great Britain will not be so totally happy that we are depending on America. You understand me? And America itself will also be looking at it. Britain is my ally, Western ally, European ally. Let me not offend them. You understand me? Let me not offend them. So they will be very circumspect in what they do. So what they do will just be normal. All along there was this, what we call the military aid program, MAP. Nigeria never enjoy MAP in America. We used to pay cash down for all the courses we used to go to in America. They call it military aid program. Nigeria has never been a beneficiary of military aid program because we used to pay cash down for all the courses we used to go to in the United States of America. Cash down. You understand me? I'm not saying it's not good. It's very good. They can give us whatever they can give us as friends. But we cannot rely on them because they too will have some constraints about their friendship with the European nations that in whose influence we are. You understand me? I'm just very realistic. It is quite normal. We are supposed to be British friends. We are American friends, so to speak. They can help us. But they too will be looking at their European ally. What would they feel? You understand me? That's what I'm saying. Just the sentiment that is there. And at any rate, Cuba is just a 30 minutes flight to America. Haiti is 30 minutes flight to America. How much has American wealth and influence and prosperity and blessing, rub off on these two countries that just 30 minutes flight? Mexico has the American wealth, American military power still rub off on them. Let's look at all those things. We are too far away from America now. It is good night, Lagos, good morning, London. Good night, London, good morning, Lagos.
All right, so let's look at political interference when it comes to the administration of the Nigerian Army. How has political interference somehow affected the operation of the Army? Putting to mind now the focus, the alleged Ekiti Gate scandal. Hope you recall it.
Yeah, let me just tell you something. If you don't waste time, the point is that the military is like the spear in the hand of the handler. The military is like the spear. It is the way you throw it that the spear will go. It is not military. No general will stand and tell a commander-in-chief or a governor that, no, sir, the law did not permit me to do this one. They will show him the red card. So it now depends on the political leadership to summon the political will to keep the military out of politics. It is in the realm of the political system to summon the political will to keep the army at arm's length from politics. I am not saying they should do like the First Republic that made the military no-go area. You know, in the First Republic, like I wrote in my book there, they made the military no-go area. One was very bad. But it is the question of no military man will stand up himself and go and do something unless they are orders to. They obey, military army obey orders. You know, they obey orders. The orders that are given is obeyed. The other orders are obeyed. So if nobody gives wrong order, nobody will obey wrong orders. So it still depends on the person who holds the spear. It is not the military. You know, the military is like the spear in the hand of the beholder. It is how you throw it that it will go. That is it. They do not have the idea of their own. The soldier goes, soldier come, advance to contact. Soldier goes where he's told to go and does what he's told to do. Foreign policy decisions are not made by the military. Understand me? So right. No soldier can stand and say, oh, I am disobeying the political authority. It's not possible. It's never done anywhere. Not even United States of America.
Okay, thank you very much, Colonel Gabriel Ajayi, for your analysis of the Nigerian Army. 152 years now. Thank you very much for your contribution. Of course, your contribution in ensuring the territorial integrity of Nigeria stands. That's it with Colonel Gabriel Ajayi. So the Chief of Army Staff is poised to develop a professional and disciplined Nigerian Army and bring back the tradition of regimentation. Major General Tukur Buratai made the remark after leading soldiers in a 10-kilometer route march in the Nigerian capital, Abuja. He explained that every soldier must be mentally and physically fit to fight the war against insurgency. Defense correspondent Sifon Esien reports.
This is a drill that soldiers know too well, a route march that will cover 10 kilometers in the Nigerian capital, beginning from the Agunyi-Ironsi cantonment. But what makes this exercise different is that the Chief of Army Staff is leading the pack of senior officers and other soldiers. Coming from the infantry corps, the Army Chief aims to sharpen the physical fitness of the soldiers. The soldiers chant traditional military songs to keep their morale high as they march through the Murtala Mohammed Expressway and back to the starting point, where they are addressed by the Army Chief.
We shall continue this exercise with the aim of returning regimentation to the Nigerian Army, and by extension, professionalism.
Speaking to journalists later on, the Army Chief says the Nigerian Army is back on track.
The Nigerian Army is back. The Nigerian Army is professional, and we are ready to do our professional job.
The route march, according to the Army Chief, has come to stay as a monthly exercise across all army formations in the country. Sifon Esien, TVC News, Abuja.
That was the report, of course. The Chief of Army Staff, Tukur Buratai there, giving the men of the Nigerian military morale in every way possible in going on the route march with them in the capital, Abuja. We now have joining us the spokesperson of the Nigerian Army, Colonel Sani Usman. Thank you for joining us on the program.
You're welcome. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. All right, so how do you rate the Nigerian Army now, 152 years since being in active service?
Yeah, exactly. As you are aware, we celebrated the 152 years of the existence of the Nigerian Army on the 6th of July this year. And people tend to argue, actually, no army could be older than its nation. But the The truth is that the history of Nigerian Army could be traced way back 1863 with the 18 Global Hausas. And since that time, Nigerian Army has come a long way in terms of the size, equipment holding, and restructuring and stuff like that.
Okay, so so far, especially now that the Nigerian Army is battling with unconventional warfare when it comes to the Boko Haram insurgency, how would you say the Nigerian military has performed so far?
Well, I am not in a position to praise myself because I prefer that you people out there should be the people that can gauge our performance. But hence you have asked me, you are quite aware that Nigerian Army has performed credibly well in the sense that the Boko Haram terrorists now no longer have freedom of action. They have been degraded and subdued. And it's just a matter of time, the insurgents or the terrorists will definitely be defeated.
All right, so what's changed really? Because at a point we heard that the Nigerian soldiers were fleeing from Boko Haram terrorists and were even tagged as cowards by the Chadian troops.
Yeah, you are quite right. Some months back, or let's say last year, we have had instances that our own troops at the site of Boko Haram terrorists abandoned their locations, weapons, and equipment. But that is over now. It's now history in the sense that we no longer allow the terrorists to have freedom of action. As a matter of fact, now it is the Nigerian military that does the pursuit now.
But don't you think it's even more challenging, really, to be able to track this Boko Haram sects, knowing that they are scattered around, they are no longer in one basic area, being able to now engage in suicide bombing more often?
Yeah, as you are quite aware, the Boko Haram terrorists were having a field day some years back or some months back, about 6 or 7 months back. Where they even held territory, creating a phantom caliphate. But that is no more because wherever there comes, non-camps and enclaves are known, they have been degraded and they have been destroyed and quite a number of them killed. So they converge more or less in Sambisa forest, and our people are doing the best they could to ensure that even at that, it is totally destroyed, and those of them that are still alive are either killed or captured. So the essence here is that we anticipate a situation whereby you have a few of them that could have run out and perpetrate other crimes, as we have witnessed in terms of sporadic suicide bombing in some parts, especially of the northern part of the country. But even at that, other security agencies, in conjunction with other military personnel, they are working round the clock to ensure that even that is stopped and possibly eliminated completely.
All right, now many challenges have been highlighted really facing the Nigerian military and impeding on the performance of the soldiers in everyday fight and of course the fight against insurgency at this time. And there's another one now brewing, really, that they say it's somehow affecting the Nigerian Army moving forward, and that's the practice of always appointing junior officers over senior officers, that making the senior ones to embark on compulsory retirement, thereby starving the military of well-needed experience. Do you think it's true, especially you as the spokesperson and a military officer as well?
Well, let me tell you, a lot of people tend to misunderstand the essence of the Nigerian Army, in the sense that when an officer retires after having served the mandatory years of 35 or 56, the age of 56 as the case may be, people tend to think that he was just retired suddenly. But it is not so. It's a system that naturally people have to come in and people have to go out for others to grow. So it is not always like that the way people tend to believe.
What can you say now as the spokesperson of the military about the report from Amnesty International accusing the former service chiefs of aiding or somehow committing crimes against humanity, encouraging it from their soldiers as well, that they should be brought to book? What can you say as a military person?
Well, let me just correct one impression. I am the acting spokesman for the Nigerian Army, not Nigerian military, but I'm conversant with that unfortunate allegation and the uninformed allegation by the Amnesty International. The issue they raised is not something new. All you have to do is to dox the books or Google. You will see that it's just a rehash of various allegations made in the past. The only difference this time around was to pinpoint specific individuals and name and accusing them of all sorts of crimes. But one thing I want to assure you is that it is not true. And apart from that, the Nigerian Human Rights Commission is fully aware of those allegations and is investigating. As time goes on, definitely Nigerians will know the truth. But I can tell you it is not correct.
What about the remuneration of Nigerian soldiers and the proper taking care of the family of dead soldiers who died at the war front?
Yeah, exactly. One thing, again, is that there is kind of misinformation about remuneration, allowances, and stuff like that. And unfortunately, when you are fighting a war, it's a war that is asymmetric in the sense that there is so much misinformation and propaganda going on, particularly on the part of insurgents. And unfortunately, again, Nigerians, most of them are gullible, so they take things they had hook, line, and sinker. But it is not always the truth. Every soldier and officer that is involved in operation, regardless of which type of operation, especially now that we have Operation Lafia Dole in the northeast and, of course, Operation Full Shield, apart from his or her basic salary that is entitled to, the person is paid 1,000 naira per day. So depending on the month, every soldier or officer, regardless of his rank or status, earn that amount of money. And in the event of unforeseen, for instance, sustaining of injury, there is a medical care, medical cover that apart from evacuation, most of them are even flown out of the country to be taken care of. But in the case of people that have paid the sovereign's price, well, there are kind of entitlement, apart from gratuities, there is benevolent fund, the welfare insurance scheme, and now we even have the group life insurance on board. And apart from that, I'm quite aware in some states like Yobe and Borno State, they also pay certain amount of money, kind of succor to the family. And I know that that money is nothing less than 1 million naira per individual. And of course, the Office of the National Security Advisor also goes out of his way to give assistance. And this is in addition to the fact that children of deceased officers and soldiers who died on active service, the Nigerian Army sponsored them up to the age of 18, right from primary school up to university level. So there are a lot of welfare packages. It's just that people don't take time to understand or find out the truth about it. And that is why the lazy soldier on the street, especially at the checkpoint, tend to tell lies to motorists that he or she is not being paid properly. But it is not correct. All you have to do, ask the authorities and they will tell you when it has been paid.
Okay, so this transfer of control and service headquarters of the Nigerian military to Borno State as directed by President Muhammadu Buhari, has it been successful so far? Is it the reason for the success now being recorded against the Boko Haram sect?
Yeah, exactly. It has been. And what I want you to understand, it is not the transfer of army headquarters or defense headquarters to Abuja. What we have is military command and control center. And that center, just like we told you earlier on when it came on board, was to coordinate and control all the operations against Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast and, of course, all parts of the country. And it will form an interface between the Nigerian military and the multinational, the newly created multinational joint task force. And that has started being paying dividends because the contributing countries have started contributing troops, and I know Nigeria has a brigade in which the fight against terrorism is now taking shape properly.
Okay, now what about the directive just recently given by President Buhari on the need for Nigeria to now start producing its own weapons? How is that going?
That is very good. Honestly, it is heartwarming now that there is this directive. But one thing I want you to understand, at my level, I'm not supposed to be discussing policy issues. But of course, you should know that we have Defense Industries Corporation, which has been there for almost 4 decades now, that is not producing the way it should be. So it is good that we should begin to look inward. And in any case, the Boko Haram terrorists, most times, and I want people to investigate, at which point have they procured weapons outside the shores of this country? No, it is their ingenuity. And they say necessity is the mother of invention. We had the unfortunate civil war between 1967 to 1970, and you can see a lot of creativity, especially on the part of the Biafran side. And why wouldn't we also look inward? Nigeria is blessed both materially and in terms of human resource. So I think it's a good thing, and I want all of us to tune into it. It is not just even about the issue of defense, but every other facet of Nigeria, because segment of the Nigerian society, because we are indeed great people compared to other people of the world.
All right, lastly, Colonel Usman, are you also confident, just as President Buhari, that Boko Haram will definitely and totally be defeated by December this year?
More than, if there is anything more than confidence, I will tell you yes. And the Nigerian military has keyed into it. And in any case, Boko Haram invariably is almost no more as it were known, because you no longer have the space of attack. And of course, you remember there is a change in the leadership of the military. In the Nigerian Army, we have a new Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tukur Buratai. And when he came on board, he fashioned out a vision for the Nigerian Army, which is to have a professionally responsive army, that is alive to its constitutional responsibility. So the whole of the fight against Boko Haram has now been rigged, and it has a new vigor, in the sense that we have even nicknamed the operation from Operation Zaman Lafia to Operation Lafia Dole. The essence of it is that now we no longer wait for the Boko Haram to attack helpless civilians. We do the attack ourselves, and it has been paying dividends. And all other places they held sway, now they have been recaptured, and roads are now being reopened. So where we are even going into the other places of the operation. And I'm more than optimistic we will meet up with that directive before the end of this year. Boko Haram, as it is known, will be no more.
All right, thank you very much, Colonel Sani Usman, the acting spokesperson of the Nigerian Army, for your time on the Talk Time segment of the show.